most of it came from my husband Bill's Aunt Tenny, who worked for the DAR and did that kind of thing, and did a good job of getting things done for our own. And my mother, family, she and her sisters worked on genealogy as they found it right along. So when we were going to have this get together, why I wanted to pick some. Ian had called when he was home when the Golders had closed the schools, and he called because their home assignment for that day was to do something about tracing ancestors, and it was due either that day or the next day, so that he had to have something right now. And I pulled one of the files that when we moved that I could find, and gave him that info. But I said, if the kids are getting this kind of a thing in school, then I'd like to have this stuff available for somebody else, because when I had worked on it prior to 1995, they were my working papers, and they were kind of all mixed up. So I chose to make up a board so the smallest, youngest could have their pictures on it, they know who they were, and then we went to their parents, and what would be their grandparents, and then I know their grandmother, and I'm their great aunt on some of them, but we all have the same common ancestors here. Everybody down here has these as their this would be the parents, the grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. And so we had, I took the lines that I could find that were developed, where we had the great-great-great-grandfather here had done genealogy and had traced his back to where they came over from England. And when I went tracing the genealogy, I didn't like history in school. It had lots of dates and that, but I found it interesting. You found out a little bit more about why people maybe, went over the mountains to the next state to do something, or why they moved from Ohio to Kansas, what was with it. So that part was interesting. And it does tie in with some of the things from school. So we took a line that went up here to Ireland. We had a line that came from England. We had another one from Ireland. And then we started on Wingfields that came from England. And then all of these that came from Germany. And they came from a section of Germany that was that had long years of history, where the Germans took this, the French took it over. The Germans battled and got it back. The French battled and got it back. And so it was very unsettling to live in that country.
And Alsace-Lorraine? Alsace-Lorraine?
Yeah, I'm into that area, and the Palatine area.
Okay.
It just, it was contested territory, and yeah, it just was a bit difficult to live in, but that came over, and settled, and most of them coming in on any line were farmers to begin with, because most of these all came over in the 1600s, 1700s, and a few in the 1800s, and farming was what mostly was done. We had a tanner that came over, and a few others like this, but mostly they were farmers. And so when Susan went to the East Coast, and so this last year, wasn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Her cousin there, she got to see the graveyard of Danton, who's way back up there. Mm-hmm.
And Cooper has seen that graveyard too.
What?
Mm-hmm. Cooper has been there too.
Oh, okay.
Because he lives
about
near
an hour from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is, and we have a book which I didn't bring today, but that gives descendants of Daniel Warwick, and the way all, I think the book was before most of your names would be in it, but it would include your parents and grandparents. But it was fun to get a settle in and see where they were. So that was. I started off with trying to find something that would make it easier for the little ones to see that this group and this group who don't see each other that often would have some idea why we were all together and enjoyed it. And I had made another year that where I took this generation. I took this generation and this one, and as many pictures, not all the pictures that I had, but would be up on the top row, that you could see what they looked like a little bit more than the standard picture that gets taken with families and if I had anything to show what they did or what they were like. And then it was fun to get pictures to show. My father, when you wanted to take pictures of the group, generally had stood, grim, or I told him he looked like a pallbearer.
And he was such a,
yes.
Yeah,
he was such a genial man.
Oh, yes, he was. He was friendly and
I like that picture of him when he was a young man, where he's sitting there with his, in that jaunty pose.
Oh, yes, So it's but it was fun to say a little bit different and see what they were, and so if I've got the pictures, it's nice to share them, and this is why you all are getting to see them too. And the other boards, I started on trying to show pictures of who's there. I labeled the last one down the line as my apartment door, because I do put pictures generally on my apartment door rather than wreaths or flowers or whatever have you. We have all kinds of things on our apartment doors at Brewster, but the pictures were kind of like, I'm coming home, you're here, and so on. It's a metal door, and I can put magnets on it and put pictures of almost everybody. And so I was trying to share and include at least one picture of everyone who's going to be here. Preferably more, but at least one, and show a little bit about them and what they were doing. Some of the pictures just because I liked them. But I did, and that's what I've done each of the last 3 times that we felt. And so and like me, when you only shoot them once a year, it's really nice. It was nice to take the old ones and bring them back each time. It was hard to take the pictures off after I got them off. But I had, but it was a way of sharing. So.
And some people find it a little hard to believe that Joanne ran hurdles in the high school. And that David actually had a purple shirt that he was touching.
Had to go to the hospital afterwards.
And I'm still waiting for the picture that Helen took of Jeffrey eating plums or prunes, and they're all over his mouth when he was learning to feed himself.
I've hated beets ever since.
I think I have a question about the moose. Do you know the story about the moose?
Oh, Ian's gotta tell that story.
Oh,
Yeah,
please,
you know
yes.
it or not.
I can grab you, and he's just right outside.
I'll get you.
I'll ride it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Good, because I didn't remember any moose
Yeah.
other than a trip I took.
So there's a wonderful picture there, Mom, behind you of you and your sisters.
Oh.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up as one of 4 sisters and
Well,
about your sisters? We're here, in this group, we're here with you at your descendants and Helen's descendants.
well,
It's just a little, so that you could, if you want to focus on Aunt Helen, that's
It does seem, it seems strange that you'd want to know because growing up with 4 sisters was just natural.
How else would one grow up, right?
There were, yes. And mother liked to have, she started off with yearly pictures, and so we had one for most years, but, and basically got along pretty well together. Suzanne was the oldest, and my dad said she burned the candle on both ends, and she'd have burned it in the middle if she could just found out some way to do it. And she probably would have. And yeah, we're very active in things, but I didn't play as much with her because she was enough older than I. And Eleanor was 2 years older than I, and I was probably sang along with her for things because there were times that if we were. We grew up during the Depression time, and so for us it was a plus, but one of my dad's clients didn't have any money to pay for the legal service, but he did run a theater that was in walking distance, and so he gave my dad passes to the theater for the legal work, which my dad wasn't terribly happy about, but we would go over on Saturdays and watch Flash Gordon comics, and so I went with my sister, and I could have the passes, and next door over 2 other neighbor girls, one of which was my sister, Eleanor's age, and one was a year older, that we often did things with. So they got passes to the passes, and the 4s would walk over to the theater, but and I was probably the sister that tagged on, although she didn't make me feel that way. But yes, and then Helen was the youngest, and she was a joy. We played a lot with. I played a lot with Helen. She was enough younger than Eleanor, and that Eleanor was interested as a child. We were different, and she and Roseanne sometimes got into, because Roseanne was a teenager when she was a yet about little one, and that sometimes they don't want the same things. But we went every year went to Humboldt Valley, which is south of Manhattan, Kansas, where Mother had grown up, and we went to the cemetery there where her parents were buried, and always took all picnic things and stopped and visited some of the relatives there, but picnics we liked. And on Sunday, Auntie B always went with us. Auntie B was the only girl in my father's family. 4 boys and Auntie B. But she was family. She was attended all Christmas mornings. You couldn't go downstairs to see what was around the tree until Auntie B got there, and then you had to be at Auntie B. We'd line up at the top of the steps, and after she got there, and sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and come down the steps, and he would light the Christmas tree where you could see all the presents around the Christmas tree.
And as I recall, there was a very specific order.
Oh yes, age order. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that led by the youngest child?
The youngest one first, and yes, so with the exception of Daddy who lighted the tree, why the age order and stuff. Yes, I can remember that Jeff was the oldest in his generation, would sometimes be in charge of keeping the kids from coming down. There was a stairway that was broken, so on one side landing and then turn down the other. And you were in charge of seeing that the children didn't come down while the parents were doing something else, anywhere I hadn't really planned on having my family's Christmas at Mother's, but we started off and that's where the kids thought it always ought to be. So we ended up always going there for Christmas, and it was used, yeah, so you had my children, my sister's children, and, you know, so it was, for them, most of these things were a fun time, and you got family together and really good things, so, like that. Mhm.
That became part of the tradition of Christmas parties.
It was part of the tradition, and getting together was a fun time. I remember we went over one time when my mother had been hospitalized for some surgery. Hadn't planned on it quite so soon, and so, but they called, and so I came over with my kids, and my sister was there with her kids, and my older sister had come home for it. My youngest, and your mom came down for it with your kids, and we were taking turns of being at the hospital because she got nauseated very easily, and it was very difficult to get it stopped. We didn't have as many medicines at that time that you could do it. And so we finally she got better, and we came home, and coming home, my kids said, "Oh, that was such fun, let's go do that again." And I just could have wrung each one of their necks. It had not been fun as far as I was concerned. But I
Wanted a second opinion,
yes,
medically and otherwise.
but you did, and you felt that way about it when you got together. On Sunday mornings growing up, we went to Sunday school and church, and usually we did both. If we came home after Sunday school, we could change clothes and play in the backyard until it was time to get supper. Supper, the main meal was at noon, and so after supper, after noon meal, we'd wash the dishes and kind of straighten up the kitchen, and then oftentimes we'd walk over to Auntie Lee's house where grandmother was, and we'd be over. That's when my mother got a nap in the afternoon. She wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And then she and Daddy would come over for supper over at my grandmother's. And I remembered and remembered the cabinets where the toys were kept. And you always knew that those were the toys. You could go there anytime and play with those. And we did jigsaw puzzles with my grandmother. And my grandmother was excellent about sitting and watching, because they had, between their dining room and their living room, they had sliding doors. Yes, And so this was our stage. Those were the curtains. And Ellen and I would dress up and present plays, and you know, and they were very tolerant about sitting and watching what we did this way. Grandmother was a good cook, one of these kinds of cooks that cooked. This is what we're talking about now.
And this grandmother is your dad's mother?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm. Yeah, she's the Anna Carney that I have here.
okay.
And yeah, but she was one of these natural cooks that you'd say you took a bit of this and a pinch of that, and just maybe the size of a walnut, or you know that, and just so her recipes were kind of skimmy and not easy for me to follow, but she cooks well. And so, but after Ian had called him on the genealogy things, and I thought maybe I better try to get the things that I had in a bit of order. I'm still trying. Why, with their suggestion, I had started on my grandmother, and she had they were living in Topeka on Huntington Street. They had been living in, they tried homesteading in Colorado, in eastern Colorado, and if you homesteaded in eastern Colorado at that time, it was desolate. And so they eventually left that and came and had a house on Topeka on Huntington Street, and then grandmother's thing, she said she liked the house on Huntington Street, but grandfather went back to Ohio because his mother was ill, And so she and Andy B took a house in Pickett, and they stayed there. But,
Where was that house on Huntoon Street? Was that in town? or
well,
was-
it's in town now, but the house, I don't think it's anymore. But yes, it was out of town, because Huntoon Street wasn't
The edge of
there.
town?
Yeah, I did go by it, so somewhere or another, I probably have that address, and I should copy it down. But, but it was a several acre plot, and out in the country, but near the town.
So it was sort of a country house. You think about the little town, but
It wasn't what you'd call a regular farmhouse, because there wasn't that many acres. I think maybe something like 5 or 6 acres. So,
Did they grow food there?
I don't know, I'm sure they did something, because they grew wherever they were. I don't know. There are lots of questions I never asked, and so from this standpoint, it's nice to have questions be thought of earlier. The most other genealogy stuff I had started with was when Susan was in school and in college, and they were doing an ancestor or course during the sociology class or I don't know what the name of the class.
Yeah, I think it was an American Studies class, but it was
Okay.
on writing the social history of your family.
Okay.
And so I remember sending, and since I was 1,500 miles away, and in-person interviews were better. You were my intermediary, and I would send questions to suggest lines of conversation and things. And you were doing the interviews and audio taping them with your mother.
Yes.
And some of that was fascinating.
Oh yes. Because my grandmother was talking that they lived in the country. They did farm, and one of the questions had to do with the county offices or things, something of this sort, because we were talking about what grandmother had done, and she asked me if grandmother ever did any of these things, and he said, "Oh no," she said, the women never did that. They might do all the work on it, but the men always had the offices.
Yes, that was to politics. It's like, no, women didn't talk politics.
No.
Women and children were one place,
Yes.
and men were another. But nevertheless, your grandfather, that would have been the Wingfield line. He, as I recall, he kept getting elected as effectively the mayor of their, year after year, because everybody knew that his wife would do all the work.
Yes.
And she was a good organizer, right?
Yeah, Mom did some nice compilation of research on, you're talking about her grandmother, Anna Elizabeth Carney Hamilton.
Okay, now
And-
this is actually on the Wingfield side.
Oh, okay, all
This is
right.
her maternal.
Okay,
Maternal, yeah.
okay.
The earlier one was on Anna
Okay.
Carney. The grandma that you visited and did the plays with the state lived with Annie B.
That was, okay.
Bertha.
That was grand.
Yeah, so
That
this
was
would be
the
the one who
Carter
lived
side.
out on West Huntington. So we have some of that information that we can hand out, because that would be her grandmother, that would be my great grandmother, that would be your that would be your great grandmother. So we have a little bit of information on that. Let's, if Ian ask you to come down and tell us a little bit about the top center picture here, and then we're going to take about a 3-minute break and head to lunch. So explain to us, what is this picture there, and why?
So that would be a random full-grown moose that ended up in our backyard in the center of a residential area in the dead center of North Platte.
Why?
We found it in the backyard. I was doing 4-H at the time, and so I entered a lot of pictures in for that, and so I took a picture of the moose, and then actually I think that would be the picture that I entered into 4-H for it. But I don't remember where they said the moose came from, but it traveled way through North Platte and chilled in our backyard for a few hours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They're not very small animals.
No, they are quite large animals.
I know it's featured in the front page of the paper.
It was on the front page, yeah.
This was the moose on the loose.
This was the moose on the loose, yes.
And how did people track the moose on the loose?
Oh, it was quite popular around town. It's hard to miss.
Well, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Ian. We're gonna take about 2 minutes to wash up, and then we're gonna head down to lunch.
Sounds good.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks, Ian. I got the whole story in 4K.
Nice.
60 FPS, man.
Well, not actually specified.
But it's your. Good
It's wonderful.
I was not
that
aware of
we're
this.
also
Yeah, exactly.
taking pictures and videos and.
The story I got. That is now.
Yes.
What a wonderful family reunion.
Wasn't on Facebook.
You don't know much about the Morlock.
Not much, but I can take it back at least one more generation. Yeah, and then you just shoot to, if it doesn't come out well, I can send you copies of it. And I hope another time I'll be able to do another one, a little bit about these people that you know.
Yeah.
And there's other interesting things that I found reading somebody else's carnies that at the time that mine came out, which was just about the time of the Civil War, after the Civil War. Over 200 families from Iowa came to Kansas and settled in the Salem type area. Really? Farmed,
Well, immigration is kind of like that. I mean, people cluster in, just like
you
Jeff
go where
said.
somebody else, yeah.
Right, you're right, you go where somebody, and even within the country, the Great Migration also, you
Yes.
know, from south to north, of lots of people who are fleeing the Jim Crow south, would go to not just south to north or south to west, but specific place to specific place. So this, so the cluster of people that lived in this part of Mississippi ended up in Milwaukee because somebody went there and said, "This is good up here, and I can help you get a job. And you can crash on my couch and get one." Yeah, right. And same thing coming across. I think of, and then there are or internal migration, and then there are some stories like in the Wingfield line. So Mary Ann Warlick Wingfield, didn't she come out?
Yeah, she came from Daniel Warlick's and
From the North Carolina Warwicks, right?
The Carneys, but the Warlicks came out. Three families came out to the Humboldt Valley and settled. And
Three families of Warwicks.
yeah, her
Okay.
older sister, there was like a 13-child family, so her older sister was considerably older, but married Combs. Bryce Combs, and he and I think two others of her siblings and families came out to, it's her land, you know. If you have 13 kids, you can't give land to farm land to all of them and have anything worth farming.
Well, yes, right, yeah, so you need to,
So you need to find land, and you could come get land out as you went down, and so they had come out here, and her father, her mother had died, and the father had left, I think, earlier. And so the sister had suggested that Marianne come out. She was 16 and she could teach school, mind you.
Yes.
And that's why, so she came out when she was 16.
And she came out because she had family already.
yes, she already had family here.
Which
Uh-huh.
is, you know, and she, and that, wow, yeah. And that, so that was,
Chairs in the way.
and that she was born just before the Civil War. So she would have come out after the Civil War.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, she was, because she was born in 1860.
Yes, right, yeah. And, but her mother had, and her husband's parents came out before the Civil War, because,
Yeah.
because it.
James Lewis is the one who had to hide
James Lewis is the one that
during the
had to
Civil
hide.
War. Because they came out,
They came
as I
from-
recall, after the territory was opened by the
Yes.
Kansas-Nebraska Act, but
Yes.
before the Homestead Act created so much immigration with,
Right,
internal immigration with land.
mhm.
They came out,
And
so
they
they were
did.
very early pioneers.
Yes, they were very early pioneers, and they came, well, actually, he had signed a note in Virginia with a friend when he was a young man. And then the note came due and the friend couldn't pay, and so they were both, and their families been thrown into debtor's prison.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so instead he took his family and left, and they went to Iowa and briefly Missouri, and then settled in Kansas. But at the Civil War time, the tension was terribly high because they were going to vote. It was before that. What the act was, I can't.
Yeah, the Kansas-Nebraska Act.
Kansas-Nebraska.
Yeah, and they
yeah.
were going to vote on whether
Whether
the territory came as a slave state or
Right,
a free state. And that was the
Yeah.
John Brown
Right, yeah.
era and all that.
The
yeah.
Missouri was strongly pro-slavery, and most of but you also had a lot of anti-slavery
Yeah.
that were in Kansas, and I had not realized until we heard a recent talk on John Brown how it wasn't just the leaders. People had reached the stage where they felt like it was our to kill those people that felt different than they did, and because then those people couldn't vote. I mean, this is it's hard to imagine
That level of
But,
political violence, yeah.
Yeah, and so you had raids where people came over from Missouri, or people attacked the other people, and I don't know how much of the area would have been pro-slavery around Humboldt Valley, but you had definitely there were groups favoring both. And the neighbor next to grandfather was sure that he was pro-slavery and he was anti-slavery, and so they at one time people had reported him to the Fort Riley soldiers, and they had come out they raided his house once, and they came out looking for grandfather because he did huge slavery was. They thought on this one. And so when the neighbor definitely thought he was pro-slavery and they should get him out. So then grandfather, when he heard they were coming, he'd go hide. And you had some hilly cattle country. And the meals for grandfather to take, my grandfather to take out for his dad. He was about 12. And the older boys were gone.
So that was Gustavus Adolphus
Yes,
that
Gustavus
was
Adolphus.
was taking meals to his
Yes,
dad,
right.
James Lewis Winfield,
Right.
who was hiding out in the hills because, as I recall, both sides were after him because neither side knew which one.
Well, I don't know.
Or do I have that wrong?
No, I don't. I think it was strictly that the anti-slavery thought he was pro-slavery. I didn't hear that he ever. He tried to not be anything. Yeah. So you're not.
But he'd come out from Virginia, so the
But he comes from Virginia, and Virginia. so everybody assumed he was pro-slavery. And, you know, I don't know, he had teenage boys, I don't know what, I mean, yeah, yeah, and they may very well have expressed pro-slavery, having been, you know, Virginia, they had to leave Virginia as kids, because that's when
Yes,
they came. And they may very well have been, pro-slavery, or just simply terribly anti for these people, though, that I mean, if they're gonna get after your dad, we had, the oldest one shot a neighbor, actually shot and killed a neighbor's, the neighbor's son. But he had gone, this was the neighbor that kept, getting the police, getting to Fort Riley to complain things about him, or at least they thought he was, and he had come out and had a, my mother, by the way, never told us this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Ann Schmidt did. She said, well, my mother was, if you can't say something nice, don't say something, anything at all.
True.
And, yeah, but they were arguing over the fence, and the teenager had his gun with him when he came out, and so the neighbor sent for his teenage son to come bring his gun and come too, and so yes, they got into a shooting, and he ended up shooting and killing the neighbor, so he left.
So that was one of your
Brothers.
one of Gustavus Adolphus
Yeah,
Winkle's
one of the-
Wiefeld's
yeah,
brothers
yeah.
that had to leave because he shot and killed the neighbors.
Yeah, and this I didn't, as I say, I didn't know about until Ann told me, and then you can see some articles in the paper.
Oh,
But yeah,
It was a much more violent time.
oh, it was a violent time. That's on a personal level. If you that's getting pretty violent.
Yeah, yeah. If you have to,
Your neighbors.
yeah, you're right. Your neighbors, turning you into
Yes.
the army for your political views,
Yeah.
and you're stimulating.
And another
Gunfights
time,
with
grandfather left because he heard, and he heard. I don't know who are the ones that supplied this, but generally he was liked in the neighborhood, and so they heard that there was that the army was coming with something over. With someone over his land, and the thought was that they had picked up a prisoner. They were going to bring him over grandfather's land, shoot him, and then bring grandfather in and say he shot this man. And
Oh my goodness!
So grandfather left, and then he wasn't around, so they couldn't say that. And finally took the prisoner and left. But that was another time grandfather. Then,
Wow.
The great grandfather left.
That would have been James.
It was James
I'm not-
and Gustavus.
yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Wow.
yes. It does. It's interesting. Yeah.
And we've got two Marianne Warlicks here, and those are different people.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. That's.
Yes.
That is. I
Yeah.
was getting confused on that
It's,
one.
it's like the Johns on your father's side. Everybody, on the Carneys and it's the same way. Any of your, the first child often was named the father's name.
Yes.
So, And so they
So
did.
he had a grandfather, John William, but
Yes, and
yeah.
and after that there were two other Johns. I don't know if they're John, but genealogy-wise, it makes it difficult working through generations. But it was very common, and lots of common family names. You see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful work. Wonderful.
Well, it's fun. It's not. Yes, yeah.
I'm probably keeping you from lunch, so maybe we should probably make our way down towards
I
lunch.
thought it was on.
Yes, it's 12:12, and I think they're shooting, so we'll make our way down there. I'm gonna grab my phone.
Thank you for the wonderful stories, Grandma. I said thank you for the stories about our family history.
Well, yes, that's your
Thank you for
history.
videoing them.
Of course.
And
I got it covered in 4K.
Well, I hadn't known that he was very active to speak
I'll send it
of.
to you later. All right, Grandma. I love you.
I love you too.
See.
Let me get,
You got a picture.
oh, okay.
So you don't have to do it as a
Sure.
selfie. Yeah.
Yes. I'm so glad that you came.
Me too. Thanks, Grandma Dorothy. Love you.
I love you. Come down to lunch.
I'll be right there.
Okay.
Need to charge my phone.
Ah,